Welcome to Minneapolis South High School as we present another edition of high school girls basketball. I'm Mike Pete and all by myself talking to myself. We have a 4A matchup, non-conference, no section affiliation either, but two up-and-coming teams, the Mounds View Mustangs and the Minneapolis South Tigers. Mounds View in a bit of a slump at 7-13, Minneapolis South at 12-5, but in a rebuilding phase somewhat after losing folks like Morgan Hill to graduation a year ago. We're having a little bit of trouble with the starters. And if you're wondering why we're not doing the traditional open, I suffered a pretty nasty abrasion yesterday while covering a hockey game, so I'm limiting my on-camera exposure, at least for tonight. We'll see how things go as the week continues, but yeah, you don't want to see this gash on my forehead. But what you will want to see are some rising stars. For Mounds View, it's Lindsey Becker, the double-double extraordinaire. And for Minneapolis South, Jade Hill, in her fourth season on varsity, has a lot of experience. She'll be looked upon as one of the leaders for the Tigers this year, alongside her younger sister, Angel Hill. Minneapolis South coming off a big win over Washburn, 69-27. They'll be having a marathon of sorts next week, 4 games in 5 days. A lot of that having to do with rescheduling due to inclement weather, the cold snap, snowy conditions. It has been brutal as far as prep sports goes, and last night was no exception. Clear skies tonight. We'll see how things change tomorrow. Jade Hill averaging 20.3 points per game. Solana Cushing averaging 16.5. Those will be the players to watch for the Tigers. And on top of that, Jade Hill, she's up there in steals, tied for 9th in the state. And she can dish the ball pretty effectively as well, 4.9 assists per game. Let's take a look at the starters. For Mounds View, same 5 as the last time. So it's Leah Bannon, number 2. Katie Meneke, number 4. Lindsay Becker, number 22. Chloe Whalen, number 32. And Lizzie Kauls, number 34. South will start. Jade Hill, number 4. Solana Cushing, number 5. Cameron Benjamin, number 11. J.J. Mullins, a transfer from Illinois, number 12. And Angel Hill, the 7th grader. She doesn't sound like one, but she's wearing number 24, the same number worn by her big sister. Everyone leaving that number 3 alone that Taylor once wore here at Minneapolis South. Of course, she switched to 4 as a college and professional. Jade has been wearing that number for the last few years. So 4 and 24 run in that Hill family considerably. For Mounds View, as we mentioned earlier, Lindsey Becker, the player to watch. The wild card, as usual, Lizzie Kauls. Lizzie this season, 2 games with 20 points or more, 5 games with 4 points or less, and she failed to score against Park of Cottage Grove. Now, that game came in a win, but Lizzie can go all over the place, and we'll see what happens here. Mounds View, it's been a rough go as of late. They've lost 6 of the last 7, but trying to build up their history. Lindsey Becker doing a great job establishing it, and she's really evolved over the last couple of years. 3 ball from Lizzie Kauls, that's off the mark. Whalen with the offensive rebound, almost throws it away. Kauls is there for the recovery. Bannon over to Katie Meneke. Now Chloe Whalen has it in the corner. Looking to pass back up to Bannon. Becker converts the high-low play. Lindsey Becker leads the state in blocks, 8th in steals, 10th in rebounds. Double-digit scoring in all but 1 game. Here is Jade Hill. Up, no good, and a late foul is called. Ashley Ansel, a little perplexed. So we'll have free throws for Jade Hill. Jade Hill, as we noted, 20.3 points per game. She's posted a couple of rare double-doubles, 25 points and 10 assists against Minneapolis Henry, 28 points and 11 steals in a win over Hastings. As South gets on the board. The Tigers, as we noted, rebuilding somewhat. If you look at their strength of schedule, not playing the same caliber of teams as they did a year ago. Last year, their schedule was stacked with foes like Stillwater, Wayzata, Robbinsdale, Cooper. Lizzie Kauls goes in for the layup. This year, South, their non-conference opponents, St. Anthony Village, St. Francis, Mounds View, teams that are hoping to be contenders down the road. South, of course, playing in Section 6, where it's looking like Hopkins and Wayzata are headed for an epic clash. But South played the upset card last year, knocking off Wayzata in the semis. Nate McGuire, the head coach, told me after that game, everyone was in a daze. It was a result nobody saw coming, but that's why you play them. Mounds View does a good job swinging it around. Lindsay Becker can't convert on the backdoor play, but her compadre Lizzie Kauls is there for the recovery. And Mounds View with a quick 6-2 lead. As we said, Kauls the wild card. Kauls averaging 9.3 points per game as South throws it away, and 5 rebounds per game. Lindsay Becker, 18.1 and 11.8 are her numbers entering this matchup. Kauls out to Whalen. Now Manicky has it. Whalen skips it over to Leah Bannon. Lindsay Becker, step through move, no good. Another second chance bucket. Leah Bannon, the beneficiary, 8-2. Mustangs over Tigers on National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Jade Hill through traffic scores. If you're a Hill, you've got that step-through move. Mounds View looking to go transition, and J.J. Mullins with the swat. It will stay Mounds View ball. J.J. Mullins-Carlson. Nate McGuire really likes what he's seen out of the Illinois transfer. She's a sophomore and says maybe one of the fastest players in our conference, someone to keep an eye on over the next few years. Alongside another sophomore in Jade Hill. Solana Cushing scored her 1,000th point recently, and Cameron Benjamin, another young gun for the Tigers. A lot of sophomores on this South team, so pretty good foundation. Mounds View trying to feed Lindsay Becker in the post again. And Lindsay struggling to get her shot down, but it's early. Jade Hill drives and scores. We've seen her pull that move off several times, including last year against Stillwater. You cannot leave the left lane in particular open, or Jade Hill will drive right through it. Mounds View. Lose it on the possession arrow. As we noted, today is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. So it's only fitting that we're here covering women's hoops, and as you know, women's athletics making strides year after year. Here's J.J. Mullins-Carlson with the long skip out to Cushing. Cushing with 51 three-pointers. Cameron Benjamin will not augment her total there. She has just 13. 13:40 left in the first half. And we are tied at infinity. So let's go to infinity and beyond. Don't you agree, Alex? If you don't know what I'm talking about, that means we have eights. Even when I'm by myself, I find ways to sneak in pop culture references. That was Bonnie, our camera op, saying I'm never alone. Well, neither was hard, if you know what I'm talking about, going back to the 80s. But no magic men tonight, just a bunch of magic women. Kauls, another putback. And Lizzie Kauls off to a good start. Well, since we're referencing heart, Kauls could be turning into a barracuda. Bounce pass inside to Jade Hill. Manicky was all over her. Mounds View. While they have an outstanding post player in Becker, what they lack is speed. We saw that in the loss to Stillwater back in January. Stillwater ran them out of the building, 83-43. Mounds View coming off another big loss to Forest Lake. They've been in a lot of close games, though. Several decided by 6 points or less, which is insane. Angel Hill drives and scores. Angel, just a 7th grader, but she already etched a piece of history in Minneapolis South lore in the first meeting between their conference rival, Minneapolis North. Angel Hill converted the game winner. South sweeping North once more, so you'll likely see them in another Twin Cities game. And I'll tell you this much, that game will be against Como Park. That series has been a fun one over the years. That will take place February 23rd in what will be a full day of hoops. De La Salle Minnehaha will revive their rivalry with a boys-girls doubleheader that night. So if you like basketball, check out the city of Minneapolis in a few weeks. There'll be plenty of it. Leah Bannon used up the dribble, needs help. Looking for Becker, can't find her. It will stay Mounds View ball for the moment. But here's a look at some of the close calls for Mounds View. Since we last saw them, they lost by 6 to Woodbury in a close one. They beat Park of Cottage Grove by 4. And they had a similar record last year, 9-17. I think what they need is that player who can give them some agility to run fast breaks. They've got the potential. Kauls, feeds inside to Becker. And Lindsay Becker with the leaner. The fadeaway leaner, if you will. Never an easy shot to make, but she scores. She's up to 4 points. Jade Hill, pump fakes. 3 ball. Benjamin missing from the corner. Bam with the rebound. Becker to Kauls, was looking to go backdoor. South player swooped in for the deflection. Now the Tigers looking to run. Angel Hill blocked. A couple of players got to her. Maddy Hansen was one of them, number 12. Not sure we'll get credit for the block, but a nice play to deny a fast break bucket for the Tigers. And Manicky drills the 3. Katie Manicky gets on the board. Tigers going through some transition. Number 32 is Avery Sedgebarth. A couple of players decided not to continue with basketball this season, including as Jade Hill scores. Maya Ferianchik. But, as we saw yesterday, even Maya Moore sometimes needs a break. 15-13, Mustangs over Tigers. As we know, to Minneapolis South, undefeated in conference play. Long 2, does not drop for Hansen, but she gets her own miss. Goes back up, Sedgebarth with the block. She'll feed it to Jade Hill. Over to Solana Cushing, who scored 35. Finds Cameron Benjamin. Hansen with another swat. Benjamin stays with it. Leah Bannon comes up with the board for the Mustangs. They're looking to run. They find Lizzie Kauls in transition. Mounds View, they're not going to win any sprints, but they run the floor there and they build their lead to 4, 17-13. The Hill sisters. There seems to be a never-ending line of them. Becker with the swat over Solana Cushing. Lindsay Becker leads the state in that category. Well ahead of second place Carly Kerschel. And that will be a foul on Maddy Hansen as Angel Hill tried to swoop in for the steal. Now, Angel, as I understand it, is the last of the Hill clan from Paula Monique's side, but the reason why I said there's a never-ending line of them, Tanisha Scott, her daughter will be joining the De La Salle varsity contingent soon. Taylor Hill, a mother. PJ Hill, a father. It never ends. There's going to be Hills until the universe explodes. Well, there will always be a Hill, kind of like the Suggs line. The Hill lineage, a bastion of talent and athleticism. Benjamin left alone. Her three is long, and the rebound to Chloe Whalen. Samara Buchanan in the game for the Tigers, number 13. Becker. Hill stays up. Becker not giving up, but a tough angle there. South all over the 6'2" post player, and Cameron Benjamin scores in transition. And you have to be with Becker at 6'1". I guess I gave her an extra inch. Traveling violation on the Mustangs. But you have to be. South not a tall team. Historically, they haven't been. But you can compensate with athleticism, discipline, strong defense. It's not always about height, as we've seen in this sport many, many times. That will be a walk on Buchanan. That's a classic step before you dribble. It happens. 8:08 left in the first half. We'd like to thank those of you watching this online and those of you watching on the CTV North Suburbs airwaves. Hansen, entry feed denied. South trying to run. Jade Hill had a tough angle. Didn't get the pass in as cleanly as they would have liked. Now Becker running the floor. Nice little give and go with Whalen for the finish. Give Whalen the dime, and how about Becker running the floor in transition? Now that you don't see often, but Mounds View will take it. Long two, swish. Angel Hill up to 5. Angel just 6.7 points per game, but I imagine those numbers will go up over time. There was a high-quality opponent as far as non-conference goes that South didn't have a chance to go up against, as number 31 for the Mustangs, Claire Dalton, missing a couple of looks. They had to forfeit their game with Simley. The reasons I'm not sure of, but unfortunate, as that denied Simley their season opener. That was going to be the first game of the year. They had to wait until the next day against Waseca. And the Spartans going through some injury woes at the moment between Raven Miles and Titi Danzo. Jade Hill at the line to shoot 2 after the foul on Becker, her first. If you're wondering about the history of the Hill clan here, Taylor, once the all-time leading scorer, and still up there with 38-88, still the all-time leading scorer in school history. Morgan, over 2,000 points. Jade Hill, over 1,000. I wouldn't be surprised if Jade crosses 2,000 before she's through, and Angel will probably join that club too. Dalton inside to Kauls. Too strong. Look out. Kothlow tripped up trying to bring the ball out. Jump ball. Mounds View with the arrow, so they recover somewhat, but that's a little unusual. 6:19 left in the first half. We mentioned South and their treacherous section, Mounds View, as Lizzie Kauls drains the elbow J. She's up to 10. It's no walk in the park either for Mounds View in Section 5. Park Center and Roseville, they look like they'll be facing off for the right to play in state. Roseville at 17-3, Park Center at 18-2. What a season they're having. Cushing for three. That's long. And the rebound, corralled by Mullins Carlson. Benjamin couldn't get around Kauls. Becker on the bench for now on the Mustangs end. Dalton out to Kothlow. The skip was tipped by Benjamin, but Lizzie Kauls was there. A fortuitous sequence for Lizzie, but she's up to 12. The senior scoring down low with impunity. As we said, though, she is the wild card. If she gets going, Mounds View has a chance. If not, they can run into trouble. Cushing, bullseye. Had to get that in there once. A few of the folks at South remember me. I would say bullseye quite a bit in my early days of broadcasting, and I like to get that line in a few times. That's the first three of the game for Solana Cushing, her 52nd of the season. Whalen can't break free. Claire Dalton with a friendly bounce. 25-22 our score. Hill to Cushing. Back out to Hill on the top of the key. Now Mullins Carlson on the right wing. Cushing, the kick out. Jade fires. Her three is off the mark. Kauls with the rebound, and pretty good showing here from Mounds View without Becker on the floor. A push foul is called on Angel Hill, and that will give Lindsay a chance to sub back in. Lindsay Becker, that is. It's just the first personal on Angel Hill and a rather clean first half. Just one foul on the part of the Tigers, and that was their first one. The Rev handing the ball off to Whalen. Now Becker feeds Whalen. Yes! Lindsay Becker averages 2.6 assists, so dropping dimes is not a foreign concept. Benjamin sees a lane, drives through, but it's too strong. Becker with the rebound, feeds it to Kauls. Kauls got a little bit of an arm. Replay on. Whalen drives, off balance. Becker saves it. Backdoor to Kauls. Lindsay Becker all over that play. Timeout Tigers. So Lindsay Becker got the save, and that save was crucial because that allowed her to feed Lizzie Kauls for the bucket. So Lindsay Becker, only 6 points, but a few dimes. And I think I'm drawing attention up here. I'm doing a good job. 3:25 left in the first half, and if you would like to support TSB television broadcasts, we have two ways for you to do so: Patreon and PayPal. Patreon.com/TSB television or PayPal.me/TSB television. Patreon offers several monthly subscription options. You can get your name on the credits. You could join me in the broadcast booth for a game, and a few other perks as well. I'll follow you on social media. Yes, I can be bought. And PayPal.me if you would prefer to make a one-time contribution. Both will help continue TSB television broadcasts as we post these games online. And we have some syndication arrangements, including CTV North Suburbs. And we want to keep this going. Right, Alex? That's okay. I never have anything important to say. Alex couldn't hear me. 3:25 left in the first half. Well, at least Bonnie's paying attention. At least one of you appreciates what I'm trying to do. Well, I'm appreciative of everyone who's tuning in to this game and who has added their name to the list of subscribers on YouTube and elsewhere. ATO play goes badly for the Tigers. Whalen with the steal. Kauls can't finish. I guess Lizzie's human after all. Lizzie up to 14 points. Her 2 games with 20 or more includes 23 points and 11 rebounds against Como Park. That is her only double-double this season. Kauls looking to add 3 more. That's short. Dead ball rebound to the Tigers. If you're wondering, Lizzie's season high is 25, which she accomplished in a game against Cretin-Durham Hall. That one the Mustangs won, 72-70. That's why we said it's a young, rising team. They have the potential, as we saw in that win over Cretin, get some big wins. It's consistency, and when you're in as many close games as they are, another metric is how you finish. South having trouble finishing right now. They had 3 cracks at it, nothing doing. Cushing with the poke. Bannon hangs on to it. Needs help though, and not the best time to give up your dribble. Right at the top of the key. South looking for that steal, and instead it's going to be a foul on J.J. Mullins-Carlson. Just the first on J.J., only the second in the game for the Tigers. Kauls lost it, didn't handle the pass properly, and Angel Hill off to the races. Beep, beep. Angel Hill showcasing her speed. She's up to 7. Much needed play for the Tigers. 29-24 is the score. Manicky. Needs help. And another foul. The Tigers well under the limit. But that in-your-face defense, that's a risk you run sometimes. That's going to be the second on Angel Hill, so a couple of quick fouls on the young but spry 7th grader. She'll have to be careful. Becker takes the entry feed. Look who's there again. Lizzie Kauls, 16 points. Another putback. She's having herself a game. Going in. Looked like it was going to be Jade Hill and Lindsay Becker, the players to watch, and Lizzie Kauls is saying, don't forget about me. A steal for the Mustangs. In a battle of 4A schools, one in Section 6, one in Section 5. 58.8, it will stay Mounds View ball. The Mustangs lead by 7, 31-24. With a heavy helping of Lizzie Kauls. But sometimes it's those secondary options. You know they're going to focus on Becker. Becker finds Kauls again. Almost got the dime there, but Kauls couldn't get the bucket to drop. Tigers looking for some momentum here. Jade Hill. That's not easy to do. Lindsay Becker was closing in. Jade Hill had to get the rainbow to fall, and she does. She goes up to 11, 26 seconds. Will Mounds View hold for the final shot, or will they attack? And the bounce to Chloe Whalen in the corner, looking to feed. Becker's in transition, and the ball, last touch by South. Mounds View will hang on to it with 15.1. In the first half with relatively few fouls. 10 seconds. Mounds View, they'll hold it now. Becker calling for it, but she's double teamed. 5 seconds. Whalen, got to get it off. South stayed with it. But the Mustangs do have a 5-point lead, 31-26, thanks to a bevy of putbacks and short-range conversions from Lizzie Kauls, 16 points. Well on her way to a new season high, perhaps. Lindsay Becker with 6. For Minneapolis South, we'll see if they find an answer to that inside penetration of Lizzie Kauls. But this one a tight one. We'll be back to see who wins. You're watching high school girls basketball. The Mustangs lead the Tigers 31-26.
If you'd like to sponsor a TSB television broadcast, Patreon is the place. Sponsorships start at just $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/TSB television and make a pledge for premier Twin Cities sports coverage.
Halftime game ops featuring an ode to Bruno Mars. Mounds View hoping to give an ode to Lizzie Kauls and a few others. Mounds View with a 31-26 lead over Minneapolis South as we have high school girls basketball on National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Lizzie Kauls with 16 points. Lindsay Becker with 6. Those are your notables for Mounds View. Minneapolis South, the Hill sisters leading the way. No surprise there. Well, to an extent, Cushing not scoring at her usual rate, not yet. But Jade Hill with 11, Angel Hill with 7. Now we mentioned Minneapolis South undefeated in conference play. Includes a 101-8 win over Henry. Their biggest sectional foe thus far, Robbinsdale Armstrong. Again, the Falcons on an amazing turnaround from a year ago. They also lost to Concordia Academy in a close one, but Concordia no slouch with Yvonne Tensai and Lydia Lesher leading the way. Lost a close one to St. Croix Lutheran. So the Tigers, again, a young core, rebuilding somewhat. Angel Hill straddling the baseline, stays in bounds. We'll see if South can make some adjustments here. They do have the speed, but they haven't been able to turn this into a track meet yet. Cushing goes up. That was a tough shot. Mounds View denying them inside penetration. Lob, that was close. They feed the hot hand. Well, Kauls. This time, Lindsay Becker scores on a putback. So Lindsay Becker says, I've got you, after Kauls bailed her out a couple of times. And South throws it away. Looking ahead, South, they'll play Anoka next Monday right here in Highland Park. They'll end the regular season against St. Paul Central, a team that looks a lot different after Liza Carlin moved over to Stillwater. Chloe Whalen fires a three off the heel. Jade Hill with the rebound. Mounds View will go over the remaining schedule in a minute. J.J. Mullins, three is off the mark. Becker with the rebound. Becker to Kauls. Lizzie Kauls, she's been oh so close on the last couple of possessions. Mounds View will end the regular season. They play conference opponents the rest of the way. Cretin-Durham Hall on Friday. That should be an interesting rematch after the first meeting. White Bear Lake next Monday, a road game. Stillwater, Woodbury, and Roseville. Roseville, an annual doubleheader, part of the district rivalry. Angel Hill is fouled, then will shoot two. Not many trips to the line for the Tigers, and Mounds View has yet to go to the line. But again, their style of play, they don't get a lot of trips. That's just the second foul on Lizzie Kauls. Angel Hill averaging 6.7 a game, missing the front end. 6.7 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 2.4 assists, 3.6 steals, all as a seventh grader. And I have to imagine, much like Morgan and Jade for 3 years, Jade and Angel, if they stick around, will give South fans a lot to look forward to. Talked to her briefly beforehand. She does not sound like a seventh grader. Lindsay Becker playing facilitator tonight. Chloe Whalen with the bucket. Off the backdoor skip. Cushing almost lost the handle. Needs help and throws it right into Lindsay Becker's hands. We mentioned Lindsay in the top 10 in 3 categories. blocks, steals, and rebounds in the state. And a late foul is called on Angel Hill's drive, so she'll shoot 2 more. The Mounds View fans made their feelings known. Angel Hill to shoot 2 more. Angel Hill. Splits at the line. Becker with another rebound. Got a feeling Lindsay on her way to another double-double. She does have 1 triple-double, and that came in the win over Cretin-Durham Hall. 26 points, 18 rebounds, 11 blocks. And a scramble for the ball, and a push foul is called on J.J. Mullins as Kauls came up with it. 15-17 left. Ashley Ansel in her 2nd season at Mounds View, previously at North St. Paul. Her assistant and I share a mutual friend, Andrea Dubose, who comes all the way from Mississippi. A proud graduate, at least in her graduate studies, of Alcorn State. And instinctively rattled off some of the big names to go through the HBCU in Mississippi, including Donald Driver, the longtime Green Bay Packer. And Nate McGuire, he's been at South for a while, previously coached at Woodbury. Becker missed the 14-footer. Chloe Whalen, no putback, and J.J. Mullins scoops up the rebound. That last foul went against Benjamin. That's just her first. Again, nobody in any foul trouble, really. The Mustangs up by 7. Cameron Benjamin can't draw that margin down. Whoa! Oh, Katie Manicky took a step back, and that's not something you want to do at the timeline. You can't stutter step across half court like that. An unforced turnover, an unforced error on the part of the Mustangs. But they get right back to it on defense. Lindsay Becker with the swat of Jade Hill. Leah Bannon swings it out. Kauls trying to feed Becker, and Lindsay double-teamed every time she touches the ball, so Lindsay not having an easy time down low with the double teams she's drawing, but she's been doing a good job finding targets. As we noted earlier, Mounds View did pick up that big one over Cretin-Durham Hall, and they did fight off a 17-point deficit against Como Park at the Hamelin Tip-Off Classic. Couldn't close out. They ended up losing that one 65-62, and foul on Mounds View before the shot, so a side out. Just the first on Katie Manicky. Cushing for 3. Off the heel. Kauls with the board this time. Kauls out to Manicky. And Mounds View will call a timeout. They've held on to a 7-point lead for a little while, but Ashley Ansel, I believe, trying to get her troops settled. So once again, if you'd like to contribute to a TSB television broadcast, you can do so on Patreon at PayPal, patreon.com/TSB television and paypal.me/TSB television. We promise you we won't put you under pressure to do so, but whether it's 220 or 200, no amount is too small. So let's talk a little more about Lizzie Kauls. We mentioned her peaks and valleys, but on the season, 9.3 points per game, 5 rebounds, and averaging just under 2 assists per game. Lindsay Becker, you don't get too many of those do-everything extraordinaires, but Mounds View, in a way, like Stillwater was a couple years ago when Sarah Scalia was the focal point of the ponies, or Como Park in the early years of Andrea Adams, Tori Nelson and Henry Sibley, and Rachel Hakes last year for Woodbury, and to an extent, Franny Hottinger and Cretin-Durham Hall this year. And we see Tyler Coley paying a visit. Tyler, also friends with Andrea Dubose, and he's having a chat with a former Minnesota prep standout, Lena Starr. Alena, you may remember her from one season at Minneapolis North, had an outstanding career at De La Salle, won 3 state championships. She and Tyshana Johnson, they were a fun duo to watch. Lena bounced around a little bit for college, played at Auburn, Minnesota, and Hampton, and told me she's done. Her knees aren't what they used to be. The sport does age your knees quickly, though. But Alena Starr, you'll see her with the Atlanta Dream, working in social media, and she'll take a corporate role with the Atlanta Falcons next NFL season. Actually had a chance to work the Super Bowl, which took place a few days ago. And as Jade Hill goes to the line, I can assure you this game, and just about every basketball game, will have more points than Super Bowl 53. Just about anything will have more points than Super Bowl 53. Jade Hill knocks down both free throws. So fun to see Alena Starr get a chance to work with some pro teams. She told me when I interviewed her a couple of years ago as a member of the Gophers, she wants to get into broadcasting perhaps one day, and in Atlanta she'll have a great mentor in LaChina Robinson if she chooses that route. Becker missing the short-range shot. Jade Hill, pump fakes, no good. 5'7", going up against 6'1", not an easy thing to do. Leah Bannon misses the layup. 35-30. Tigers looking to make this a game. Cushing not giving up on those threes. Can't bank it off the glass. And that's going to be a foul on Benjamin as she pushed Maddy Hansen to the floor. Now, neither team expected to make a deep run in sections. As we noted with South, their section pretty loaded with Armstrong and their resurgence. St. Louis Park, unpredictable, but they have some young talent as well. Lindsay Olsen and Kendall Coley come to mind there, and Wyzetta and Hopkins. I'm looking forward to seeing those two go at it tomorrow. Lindsay Becker drives and scores, and she'll have a chance at 3. Becker, 46.3% field goal shooter. Not the most accurate free throw shooter, 60.9, but I imagine they'll work on that. Becker has quite the tools, and she completes a three-point play. Go figure, I bring up free throws, and she knocks it down, no trouble. So that brings her up to 11, and it's 38-30. So the 1-2 combo of Becker and Kauls reporting for duty. Sedgebarth back on the floor for the Tigers. Feeds it to Benjamin, sees a hole. Becker says, get out of here. Subs coming in. 12:16 to go. Benjamin pulls up. Just 4 points tonight. She's not finding her stroke. Cushing has to get around Becker. You can't go up against her in the conventional fashion. Sedgebarth couldn't knock down the long 2. Manicky. Out to Whalen, back to Manicky. Now Hansen feeding Kauls. Three ball. Bullseye! Katie Manicky with just her second triple. I believe the foul occurred away from the ball. I didn't see anyone make contact with Maneki. So they will count the 3. They'll count the 3 as the shot occurred after the foul was called. And Mounds View keeps possession. Maneki feeding Becker. No good. So South, they trail by 11, but it could have been a lot worse. J.J. Mullins streaks her way to the rim and draws the foul. J.J. Mullins averaging 8.4 points per game. Came over here by way of Illinois, if you are just joining us. And she gets on the board. Season high 19 for the sophomore. 8.4 points, 4.7 rebounds. One of those young guns that we spoke of on South. Someone to keep an eye on over the next year or two. And South doing a good job from the line, 9 of 11 in free throw shooting. They're having trouble in field goal shooting. That's why they trail by 9. Whalen, 3, does not drop. Scrum for the ball, won by the Mustangs, but Lindsey Becker called for traveling. Tigers at 12-5, Mounds View 7-13. This game won't have too much weight as far as section seeding goes, but I guess we noted earlier, a chance to see a couple of young teams showcase their potential, like J.J. Mullins, who finds a hole and goes warp speed to the bucket. Maneki, the skip, out to Whalen. Runner no good. Becker. Oh, if she had come down or given herself a minute, she might have had the layup easy. She went up for it right away. We needed another minute or two. Or another moment, I should say. But long way to go, and not even Maya Moore was perfect. Becker with the swat of Benjamin. Will she complete the play? No. But she does draw the foul. Benjamin sends her to the wall, and that's why we've got padding down there. Lindsey Becker, though, that is why you stay with it, even when you make a mistake. Lindsey Becker has that short-term memory that helps basketball players go a long way. That's going to be the 4th on Benjamin. Officials making sure Becker is okay. She is, so she'll shoot 2 free throws, but another block for Becker. This may not be her biggest night as far as stuffing the stat sheet, but a lot of blocks, 12 points. 12 double-doubles this season. We mentioned the triple-double she had. She came close to another one in a loss to Maranatha. 36 points, 17 rebounds, 8 blocks. Becker, 3 of 3 from the line, so apparently all that stuff I talked about, her 60% free throw stroke, I clearly know nothing. She's made all 3. So with bad free throw shooters, I just got to bring up their numbers and they'll make them all. We've heard of the broadcaster's jinx. Well, it works in reverse. So South is going to have to play without Benjamin for a while, and they're putting in Janice Jones, 14. Carrying violation on the Mustangs. .9:40 to go. And Becker getting a much-needed break. But a chance for the Tigers. Although they have yet to get their shots to fall. And it doesn't help for South, you know, that they're playing on the back end of a back-to-back. So fatigue might be a factor. Washburn, of course, not of the same caliber as Mounds View, and I guess you don't need Becker to get blocks. Becker getting a drink. That will be Mounds View ball. Ashley Ansel having a chat with her extraordinaire known as Lindsey Becker. .8:45 to go. Quick moving game, although both teams out of fouls to give here. The second half being a little more aggressive. Mounds View showing a lot of patience on this possession, and this is eating up time. Now they feed to Whalen, and patience pays off. Waited for the opening down low. They get the entry pass into Whalen, and Chloe up to 6. Mustangs back up by 11. Does South have a run in them? We shall see. Well, that's not going to get it done. Chance for Mounds View to make a statement here. Becker, she's not done yet. She wants to get back in there for a little more action. Angel Hill almost lost it. Manicky couldn't control it. .750. Timeout, Minneapolis South. 30-second timeout if you couldn't make out what Nathan McGuire said. And this has not been an easy game for him tonight. And part of a marathon for South. 3 games this week, 4 next week. So you're looking at 7 games in about 10 days, so that doesn't give you much time to practice. Now, a lot of these games figure to be winnable, and part of it has to do with the rescheduling due to inclement weather. Minneapolis South, they're hoping to play Orono. That game postponed. After this, they beat Southwest by 20. Anoka not having a strong year. Henry, they should win. Edison, another game they should win. Jade Hill, hesitation move, no good, and another rebound for Becker. But South having a hard time going up against the height that is Mounds View. And Ashley Ansel was hoping to get out of this slump that Mounds View's been in. That loss against Stillwater, maybe not surprising considering where the two teams are. But some of those other games were within Mounds View's reach. Baseline J does not drop for Ban. Katie Manicky is there for the putback, and that's been the difference in this one, even if Mounds View hasn't put up a ton of points. Mounds View, they got that win over Cretin back in January, but they were also swept by Eastridge. With Eastridge beating them last Friday, or I should say on the 25th. Angel Hill for 3. That's off. 6:30 to go. Manicky wanted the exclamation point, couldn't get it. Hansen is there. Another second chance bucket. Cushing, deep 3. Maybe a bit of frustration. Another rebound for Becker. Kauls hasn't scored in the second half. Now she has. Timeout, Mounds View. 5:53 to go, and they should be up by enough to win this one. But Lizzie Kauls, what a game, even if she doesn't get a season high. Didn't need to. The second chance opportunity is the difference in this one. Mustangs converting on several of them. Looking ahead, as far as sections go, you know, South, from the looks of it, will end up as the 5 seed, which would mean a road game against St. Louis Park. Mounds View, if the season were to end now, the QRF would have them as the 6th seed. And that would put them against Centennial. Again, Mounds View, they need a couple more pieces to build on. I think before they can truly threaten in Section 5 with Park Center and Roseville. Of course, we will have new sectional assignments next season, so we'll see how that changes things. 5:53 to go in the second half, and well, Mounds View will keep their big-name players in there for now, but from the looks of it, I think they've done more than enough to get out of here with a win and get themselves a dose of confidence, but South not ready to go quietly. J.J. Mullins with the reverse. That's one way to beat Becker. And if you were with us the last time we saw Mounds View, as she takes the feed from Kauls for the layup. Willie Taylor, the coach at Stillwater, a 2-time state tournament champion, said Lindsey Becker likely going to go D1. That's how much faith, how much confidence he has in her abilities. Jade Hill gets a friendly bounce. That puts her up to 15. The Hill sisters have been contained for the second half, but they're not ready to give up just yet. Solana Cushing playing for the steal, came up a little bit short. You look at the splits from half to half. Lindsey Becker, 9 second half points, 15 overall. Lizzie Kauls just 2, but again, she's getting some help from a few of Mounds View's role players. Katie Manicky, for example, and Chloe Whalen up to 6. Minneapolis South not getting much outside of the Hill sisters tonight. Cushing, it doesn't help that she only has 1 3, coming off a game where she had 7. Kauls looking to feed Leah Bannon. Last touch by the Tigers. Buchanan will go back in for the Tigers. Whalen will do the same for the Mustangs. Whalen to Becker. Becker to Kauls. How many more assists would Becker have tonight if Kauls were more efficient with her layups? Still, it's going to be a pretty nice night on the stat sheet for Lindsey Becker. Foul was called on the Mustangs. Both teams in the penalty, so free throws coming. Samara Buchanan will try to keep South around. Doesn't score a lot, though. Comes up short. So on this National Girls and Women in Sports Day, Lindsey Becker, emblematic of what this day is all about. Becker isn't going to beat you on the breakaway, but she shows off her driving skills there. A bit of an encore. What a game for her. She has 8 games with 20 or more. She hasn't reached 20 since the win over Cretin-Durham Hall. She won't need to get that mark tonight, but it will be a nice game for her. Becker was looking to run the floor once more. 55-38. South will get a substitution in. Bella Athanasilis. My apologies if I didn't get that right on the first try. Bella Athanasilis, 5'10" freshman. Becker has it in the corner. Kauls. Manicky lost the dribble, but it was last touched by Jade Hill. The Tigers and the Mustangs won't have long to stew on this one. Ashley Ansel will call a timeout. She had a few left, 3:24 to go. But this will be a solid win for the Mustangs. As our camera ops try to figure out which bench to shoot. Oh, you're crossing. Didn't anyone tell you not to cross the streams? That's true. I suppose if an apparition came by, crossing the streams would defeat it. You might risk getting, you might be drenched in marshmallow sauce, but 3:24 to go. So I was going to say, think happy thoughts. Actually, no, don't think of anything. Before I got sidetracked, I was going to say Mounds View. This may not be the biggest win of the season, but it is another win against a plus 500 team. They haven't had too many of those, and Ashley was telling me before the game, when you're trying to get out of a slump and you enter a stretch of games where you could pick up some momentum, getting a big win against a team with some speedy, crafty guards, this should help build the morale. It's going to be a win for the Mustangs, though, and that's a big reason why. Lindsay Becker, and she wasn't scoring down low. She was playing distributor as well. Whalen with the bucket, and they're going to get the subs in now. South just could not buy a field goal tonight. Just 12 points in the second half. They'll try to regroup. And as we spoke of earlier, this is a really young team, a team going through some transition. Jade Hill is fouled and will shoot 2. Academic at this point. If Cushing gets a few more threes to fall, maybe this game is up for grabs. But South, they have likely clinched another conference title. They'll host the Great Cities game February 23rd at 1 o'clock right here. South in Como Park. The team that Mounds View has some history with. As Jade Hill will get a couple more at the line. And here come the line change subs. So Lindsey Becker will call it a day with 17. Lizzie Kauls with 18. Fine performance from the two. South ball. So Faith Iworks out there for the Mustangs, number 24. Willow Hockey, the 6'2 sophomore, number 23. And Dalton back out there. Cushing, just not her night tonight. Couldn't get her stroke going at all. Manicky, just over 2 minutes to play. And stat padding time. Mustangs ball. As we said in the open, it would come down to the wild cards. And Lizzie Kauls delivered. We know Lindsey Becker will create some opportunities for herself, but more often than not, Lizzie Kauls delivered. Struggled a little bit in the second half. I have to imagine a few more putbacks go in or a few more entry feeds, and Lindsey Becker could have been flirting with a triple-double tonight, but that's okay. Cameron Benjamin scores. Becker using her height to her advantage, keeping South away from the lane. A lot of swats tonight. She dropped a few dimes as well. Fun to watch, and we saw a few glimpses of why she has earned so much respect from opposing coaches. Benjamin with the steal. She'll take it herself once more. That'll push her total to 8. with just over a minute to play. You know, South needed a little more of that, but Benjamin with 4 fouls as Ashley Ansel calls a timeout. 54.9 full timeout. Benjamin with 4 fouls couldn't do a lot in the second half. So with this win, Mounds View will go to 8-13. Again, they'll still be an underdog in Section 5. Minneapolis South, they'll fall to 12-6. And what more can you say? With Lizzie Kauls, let's just say we got the better end of her peaks and valleys tonight. 5 games with 4 or less, 2 games with 20 points. And here is a look at those close calls for Mounds View in more detail. Como Park, 3-point loss. Champlain Park, 5-point loss. Park of Cottage Grove, they swept that series, a 5-point win and a 4-point win. 6-point loss to Eastridge, 5-point win over White Bear Lake, 3-point loss to Henry Sibley, 2-point loss to Maranatha, 2-point win to Cretin-Durham Hall, 4-point loss to Edina. That's a lot of close calls. And for Mounds View, looking ahead, you know, Lizzie Kauls, she'll graduate, and you know, that will put Lindsay Becker in more of a leadership role next year. But the key for the Mustangs, if they want to be a contender in the Suburban East and in Section 5, if they stay there, can you win the close ones? More often than not, Mounds View coming up on the short end of those. Jade Hill, no good. And Mounds View with one more rebound. Picked up by Hockey, little Hockey. Can't play lackadaisical, though, even in stat padding time. And that's a microcosm of South's night. Jade Hill missing the layup. A frustrating evening for the Tigers. A sensational one for the Mustangs. Cushing with the steal, but she straddled the baseline. Both will have quick turnarounds. They play again on Friday, but the night belongs to the Mustangs. Will pick up their first win in a while. They lost 6 of the last 7, make it 6 of the last 8. More importantly, they got the win, 57-43 the final. Big night from Lizzie Kauls, a big night from Lindsay Becker. The 1-2 combo, bringing Mounds View the win. And South led by Jade Hill with 16 points, but no one could really get going in the second half. So that does it here, but we'll try to get a word with Lindsay Becker and Lizzie Kauls before we head on out of here. This is high school girls basketball. Mounds View defeats Minneapolis South 57-43. And we're joined by Lindsay Becker and Lizzie Kauls. Lindsay, I think a few more buckets from your teammates, and you might have flirted with a triple-double tonight, but you were doing everything, scoring down low, getting blocks, dropping dimes. You were truly an all-around talent tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how were you able to get everyone involved throughout this game?
Everyone was moving super well tonight, I think, so it was easy to find them, and they were being really vocal when they were open, so it's easy to just find them and have them finish.
And over the last couple of years, how would you detail your evolution? Because last year you had, a few double-doubles, but this year, you're averaging 1, you're leading the state in blocks, you're up there in rebounds and steals. We don't get too many folks who can do it all like you can.
I think I've gotten stronger a lot over the years, so just posting up, that's been really helpful, and then also just becoming more athletic with my like vertical and jumping has also helped. And then my teammates also throw really good passes too, so that helps getting those easy buckets.
Your coach talked to me about trying to get out of the slump you were in. You had lost 6 of your last 7 coming in, and a lot of close calls this year. So what does it mean to get a big win like this tonight?
I think this win was really good for us and just gave us a little boost of confidence that we need. And hopefully we can bring this energy into our game on Friday against Cretin.
And Lizzie, you've been all over the place this year. You've had 20-point games. You're coming off a game where you didn't score. Now you got the win. It was against Park. But tonight you were carrying the team in the first half, a lot of putbacks, and you were converting on some of those feeds that Lindsay gave you. So what got you in the groove?
I think just like stepping up, like it's been hard to like get into like that leadership role, but I think I'm finally finding my groove with that, and it's like just been like a learning process. So I think tonight like really showed.
And what would you make of the season as a whole, where you've been in a lot of close games and you would like to maybe get on the winning end of some of them, but more often than not, Mounds View's been right there.
Yeah. I think that we were struggling this year a lot because we're a young team. We only have 2 seniors, and so that like has been shown a lot in like those close games. It's hard for us to finish them sometimes, but I think throughout the season we've gotten a lot better with that, and like the younger girls are starting to learn. So
are you going to be working on some of those layups after that second half? Because you cost Lindsay a few assists there.
Yes, I will be. Yeah.
We tease, of course, but what, how would you rate Lindsay as a passer? We all know her as a scorer and rebounder, but as we saw tonight, if you're not careful, she can slip a skip right by you.
Yeah. She's a great passer, and she's a great all-around player, but our whole team is like really strong with like looking for that extra pass. Like no one's too selfish on the team, so I think that really helps.
And a few more games to go before sections. Obviously, you'd like to pick up a few more wins to get the momentum going, but how would you say this team has grown and developed from that season opening tournament in Hamlet?
I think a lot of the younger players have really stepped up and taken a lead. Like Leah, Bannon, and Maddy, Hansen have had some big games for us and just helped us win against like Park. Leah, Bannon had a big game, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like a lot of like we're just like working through like the younger girls on like our team, and like getting them to like be more comfortable out on the floor has like really helped us throughout the season, and like definitely there's been a big change since like that Hamelin tournament in the beginning of the season.
And before we wrap up, you want to say hi to anybody?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom, and just like my whole family, basically, yeah.
Well, congrats on the win. We'll see if you can parlay that success into sections, but a big win tonight, and we'll see if we get a few more double-doubles out of the two of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Lindsay, Becker, and Lizzie Kauls. That wraps up our coverage here from Minneapolis South. I'm Mike Beaton. Thanks for watching.